Yes, that's better. We're
Okay.
here. We're here.
Yay. How are
I don't know how
you?
much of that you caught. I was just basically saying how amazing you are. Um,
Oh.
so I was just basically saying about how, obviously in lockdown one, you wouldn't have necessarily planned to do what ended up happening in lockdown one. Obviously, you planned to build the second and third businesses, the Residence and the Hummingbird Cafe way before coronavirus, and then we hit that bump. But what I said was inspirational that I found was the fact that you kept going, right? And as entrepreneurs, you kind of have to keep going because what else are you going to do, right?
Yeah.
But it was the way that you pivoted very quickly, you dealt with it. And certainly from the outside, it was just like, honestly, it was like the poster child, really.
But
Um, I'm sure from the inside, it was like,
my feet were like this. Yeah.
blind panic. But no, it just
Definitely.
looked absolutely, absolutely amazing. So the reason I invited you on today, and thank you so much for joining us, is that your business is just such an interesting business and such an interesting story to talk about in terms of startup, because what you do relies so heavily on what we always talk about in business, which is this whole like know, like, and trust factor of getting people
Mhm.
to warm up to you, to want to buy from you. Um, and, a hair salon, you kind of have to know, like, and trust what it is they're doing if you're going to let them loose on
Definitely.
your hair, right?
Definitely, for sure.
So I will hand over now and let you sort of do a proper introduction to yourself. And maybe you can kind of start off by telling us how you came up with the idea of starting the hair salon.
No bother. So, thanks everybody for joining. I'm Rebecca Carr. I think for me, the most important thing, I actually started being a Saturday girl when I was 12. So that's how long, like, that's how much I wanted to be a hairdresser. And I always said to my parents, I didn't want to just be a hairdresser. We know, not that this is the case, but I didn't want to just go into a job. I wanted to have a career. I wanted to really make it something. And I'm from a really small village. And I realized quite quickly that I had to go into a city to get a good apprenticeship and to make a career in myself. And that was really my motivation of opening my salon. I wanted it to be in the Shire. I wanted to have a great apprenticeship program, which I do. My apprentices are now all qualified. So when we go back from this lockdown, I'll be looking for the next lot of the newbies, the apprentices, the babies. And I feel like that was a main motivation for me, because I had to get up every day at about 5:30 and get the bus in Aberdeen, and then I would work all day and I'd get home at 9 o'clock at night. And that was the reality of the training. I worked with Tony and Guy, which is a really, it's a worldwide business, and I think with that, I had such a strong view of where I wanted my career to go that I knew that I had to go into the city to do it. And it's not like that now. I think definitely much more now. There's so much education and there's so much travel with it that you don't have to be traveling as far as is what I was doing, I suppose, to get an apprenticeship. So
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely. And I'm sure, like, certainly me as living in the Shire,
Yeah.
we are all very grateful that, we don't have to travel into Aberdeen to, visit a reputable hair salon and get, that sort of level of expertise and quality of service and things like that. It's difficult to find, like you say, in a sort of like, small town or village sort of lifestyle. It's just such a craved after
Mm-hmm.
thing. I think you've hit the nail on the head. It was such a good idea, and the timing I think was just it's a perfect storm, wasn't it? Really. Um,
I think where I'm at in Kintour, I've like I feel so like I feel like this is home. Like I feel like I've got such a good community behind me. But even we're always working in Aberdeen, we have so many clients that come from the city to us. And from the all over the Shire, to be honest. And I think that's purely based in well, the new AWPR road, like that is a brilliant thing. We've got people off Eastern Haven. It's quicker to come to us now than it is to go into the city. No, I'm really, really grateful. I'm lucky.
Yeah, not lucky. You did it all
Yeah.
yourself. It was your determination and grit. No luck applied at all.
Yeah, definitely that. Definitely that.
Don't be humble. So what was your mission at the outset? You know, obviously you picked Contour, you picked the Shire. You know, what was the outset or the reason behind that?
A few reasons. We picked Contour because me and my husband, before we got married, opened a car garage. And I was actually at an event with them, and there was someone that came over to me, and she was ages with my mom, and she kind of, not in any way, but commented about how I was married to somebody that had a business. And it just, that female, like, it just sat with me. I was like, I have to do something for me. And I don't want to just be married and not have, I wanted to have more for me, and I had to push for that. So Contour made sense because we had our first initial business here, and it was right next door to my husband's business, and I'm lucky that I've got that support with him, and we've got a great relationship that he is my #1 fan. So it definitely made sense. So my mission again was to create a high-end salon, where it was adaptable for families as well. So yeah. I wanted, like, I didn't want just the women come, I wanted the full, and we have that. So yeah, that was my mission.
Yeah. Oh, the girls are both eager to get back. It's so funny because obviously, like, I book my appointments quite far in advance and stuff like that, and they're like, when can we go back?
That's what I find. The amount of parents that when I'm walking the village say to me, especially just now, they're like, oh, you've no idea, this one, that one. They're all wanting their hair done. It's always before the parents.
I know, I have to admit now, I actually cut Liv's hair myself.
Did you?
She's got like hair down to here, and she was like, and I watched a TikTok video where someone took a set of clippers and they made it look so easy, you know, like you just put a comb and go in a straight line, it'll be perfect. At first push, I instantly regretted it. I was like, oh, this isn't as easy as they made it look on TikTok. It was like, her hair's so thick, it was like, I was like, oh, I've only taken off a slight layer here. It was dire, but she was tough to the bone. But obviously that was lockdown 1, so I've learned my mistake, and it's been rectified.
I could have shown you. I could have guided you.
Oh, it was crazy.
You.
I know. If you make it look so easy. Oh, goodness me. So as the company's developed and grown and you kind of got into the size that you've got, I mean, has your sort of direction in business changed in any ways? Your mission changed?
Yeah, it has. I think when I moved here, it changed, because initially I was very much just wanting to open this salon that I'd put so much energy to. And then I had another opportunity to open another business next door, which is the Residence in the Hummingbird. And I just felt like it changed, especially when I had my child as well. It definitely changed then, but I wanted to create a hub within the community where people can come and get everything done, their hair, their beauty treatments, a spa-like feel, as well as obviously a nice cafe, and that's already helped with after coming back for lockdown, everybody used that facilities, which was great, but this lockdown I decided to close all the businesses and really finish the Residence from what I wanted to start. Like, I wanted it to be, what I've actually been working on is a kids play area outside the Residence, which is called Baby Birds. So for the parents to go and families to go, and like, I think your mission does change. It changes all the time, but my core is still very much there. And I'm really, really fortunate that I've got a great team that is willing to help at any time. They're part of my driving force as well, to be honest.
Yeah, having kids is always the pivotal moment, isn't it? I think for so many people, because it's bizarre. It's like you pick a career based on what you decided when you were at school, when you were like 16, 17, and you don't really get a chance to review that and decide, like, you're kind of stuck with that for life. And, if you have a child, especially obviously if you take maternity leave, it is that big sort of thought. It's like, am I doing the right thing? Like, do I want to change what I
Mhm.
do? And obviously then flexibility comes into it as well, doesn't it? People crave that flexibility because schools and nurseries, it's just, yeah, it's a whole different ball game.
I
We've got
definitely,
Justin.
I never
Oh,
thought that was going to be the case until, sorry, I never thought that was going to be the case until I was designing the residence. I wanted the
mm,
kids, I wanted my office to look onto the kids' play area so I could be in there as much as I wanted and know that my son was playing. And that is actually initially where it started.
that's amazing. That's such a good thought. That's good foresight.
So funny.
I'm just watching comments rolling in, and we've got Justin at Ashoka who's absolutely singing your praises in the comments. So he's saying you're smashing the game.
Oh, oh, thanks, Justin.
So when you were setting up your business, did you have any self-doubt when it came to especially that first initial step? And how did you handle that? Because that's always a thing that is just an absolute hard no for a lot of people, that first step.
So because I trained initially with Tony and Guy, I worked there for nearly 10 years. I you only colour or cut there. You don't do both. So they want you to master that one thing. So I chose cutting, which I'm so glad I did, because that is for me a really that is my favourite part of hairdressing. But I didn't want any weaknesses in my business, and I didn't want to feel like um at any point, if a client came to me saying that they had doubted this or they were unsure about this, to then not know that knowledge within my business. So I actually went to London for 6 months, and I lived there for the 6 months, and I actually did the Tony and Guy colour training, which was a huge expense before I even opened the business. And also I was married and I was away from it. It was totally different. But it was my one thing that I said to my husband: if I'm opening this, I'm not having any weaknesses. And that's what I did. I went to London and I did that training. And I know it is actually the best thing that I've done, because if anybody has any doubt with anybody, like, my staff are all great, and we're very fortunate that if anybody tells us that they didn't like something, they tell us it in the nicest way because they want us to better ourselves. But I'm lucky that I can see all sides to it and I can help at any time. So yeah, I think that probably would be the one thing that I would advise people: never hear a weakness in your business.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the vibe that you've created in the salon, I think, is, perfect. Having been to so many professional salons in the city and things like that, again, there's sometimes a lot of that, like, not to use the word pretentious, but sometimes it's almost like you're too scared to say, as a client, like if there's something that you're not sure of. But you've managed to sort of create this professional salon, but with a friendly vibe to it, where it's like approachable, and you know what I mean? It's just, yeah, I can't sing your praises enough.
No, with my beauty girls that I employed, I said to them, like, with my social media, my mom, who is also one of my top supporters, she always says there's never enough of what you do on there. But my important thing is for my staff to be praised, because we all work hard, but they deserve that praise, because I know what it was like to be an employee, and neither I could say anything wrong with what it was like, but that was the little bits that you wanted. You put so much energy in that you sometimes didn't feel you got as much back, and I'm almost wanting to do the opposite. I want them to be the pillar point of the business, so people see the effort and energy that goes into it.
Yeah, and I think that helps as well, because it's one thing to sort of make yourself the front face of your business, but if people aren't getting you as their stylist, if they're getting one of the other girls, if you're getting Haley or, you know, whomever, it's like, you know, there has to be that know, like, and trust factor across all the team as well, you know, so
Definitely.
that, yeah, it gets shared across. Saying Haley because that's who does my hair.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, as I said at the start, you know, the one thing that I admired about your journey was just how you coped with lockdown. One, obviously, you had these grand plans for the residence, grand plans for the Hummingbird Cafe, and then lockdown came out of absolute left field. And as I said at the start, for me, look from the outside looking in anyway, it just how you managed to sort of pivot and deal with that and, you know, not just abandon it in its entirety was just absolutely amazing. I mean, how did that feel from the inside? Like, were you absolutely panicked?
um, oh, the first thing that I'd say is me and my husband both said the first thing was staff. We're making sure no matter what happened that they were okay. And then I think reality hit that we've actually never spent time much as a family apart from a holiday a year or whatever, because he worked 7 days and I was pretty much the same. We've worked a lot. That was like, where's the wine? Like, how are we gonna cope with this? I think, do you know, my dad is always told me worst things happen at sea, and as long as you've got your health, then nothing else matters. And I just thought, right, I've invested so much into it. I put initial halt to it when I was pregnant, because actually what a lot of people maybe didn't understand is I signed up for that business, the residence, when I was pregnant. I was newly pregnant, and I sat in it for about 9 months till I had my son, and I had a couple of months of a maternity leave, and then from there on I started the work on it, and it was a big project. So yeah, I think it was difficult. There was a moment where I had a panic. I had somebody that was running a cafe, and then that kind of fell through, and I could understand it with the situation. So but I was like, oh my gosh, now I'm gonna have to do a cafe, and how's this gonna work? But you know, everything happens for a reason, and it's actually worked out for me a better position, because I've teamed up with Lindsay, which is Eating the Green. So now, and the food is exactly how I want it. So, and I can put it's a great business. I can put my effort and energy into it because it's also my business. So yeah, I was painting fences. I just went for it. I did everything.
Oh, it's true. It's true what you say. Like, everything happens for a reason, and it's being calm enough, knowing that okay, that didn't work out, but something better is coming along, and that's usually the point where it's like people like just break down, isn't it? But it does work out. Everything always tends to work out. Just have a bit of faith. So, how do you feel that social media over the years has supported you in your business? I saw the other day that one of the teams got a certificate for doing some training.
Yeah, with L'Oreal. Yeah, yeah, my girls have done so many courses. They're constantly learning, and social media is massive. I think for me, I started the business when social media was really hitting off, and I mean, we started and none of my staff at the time had any clients, so it's really helped to promote the business. And I think, I don't know, like last lockdown, I was posting daily. We were constantly, and I feel like I'm still doing that, but I feel like when you have a business now, it's all about social media, and that's where a lot of people really kind of, even if you have a business, just in general, looking at this lifestyles, and it is a brilliant way of getting your name out and getting word of mouth as well, so it passes on. But I feel like this lockdown I've kind of calmed down a bit. I've actually enjoyed the moments, but when we go back, it will go back to everyday posting.
Yeah.
Every day.
Oh, honestly, if any of the team are watching, if they ever fancy posting like lockdown hairstyles that we can all do at home, that would be great. Because I swear I've done this with my hair every day for the last
Have
6 weeks.
Well, my mom actually said to me this morning, she was like, can you not just put a few highlights in your hair?
Can you do your own hair?
I'm not making anyone feel jealous. We're all in the same boat.
Oh no. So with social media, is there any platforms that you have tried, not tried, worked, not worked? Have you felt that pressure to be on all the things?
When TikTok first came out, I was like, right, let's get a TikTok page. We're so busy in a salon. We're honestly flat out that for me, unless you employ someone that does your social media and that is their one and only job, it is very difficult to have that constant like Snapchat or heaps. You could go on, could you? No, Instagram.
Clubhouse. Good old Clubhouse is new. That new one, Clubhouse, yeah.
I've seen that one. Instagram's my favourite. Picture, less words. A picture says 1,000 words, so you don't need to write a big spiel of what to say. I think Facebook, when I first started, was really, really good. And you would put something up and it would just go, like, I felt like that really worked. I tell you what social media is really good for. It really brings, not just with my staff, but with clients. Like, it was one of the girls' birthdays of the other day, and she gets so many it kind of makes me feel like we're all family. Like, people are in the loop of what's happening and vice versa. And it also gives you a bit of a touch base. I've had so many clients message asking how we're all doing, and yeah, it is great for that.
It is for relationship building, absolutely. It's great for that, and people love to be part of it. And with you, like your beauty, your hair, it's such an integral part of who you are. So it's like to be part of like the people that are helping you achieve that look, that style. It does. It becomes, and I always remember my mum was a hairdresser, but you know, not like professional, a stylist or anything like that. She did like blue rinses and perms and stuff. But I always remember, at Christmas time, she would always be getting like presents handed in from all the clients, you know, and she'd have like 20 packages of like talcum powder and soaps and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, you became the part of the family, wasn't it? It is, it's definitely. Yeah. If you could go right back to the start, when you went down to London, would you do anything different?
No, I think like the brands that I've chosen, everything that I've done, I feel like I've done well, as in like I feel like if I was to change something, my first few years of business, I would have listened to my gut more, because I'm really good at reading people. It's one of the things that I'm good at, and I know instantly if it's got to work and it's not. And I felt like the first few years, and you still naturally sometimes do it because we're human. You want to have that empathy, that understanding, that, but I feel like maybe that would be the one thing that I would change, is to always listen to that gut there. But with anything else, no. I'm like, I've loved everything that I've done.
That's excellent. No, it is difficult to get that trust factor up in yourself, isn't it? Because if you think about life from start, it's like you're always seeking approval from, like, as a child, your parents, you know, when you're at school, the teacher, am I doing it right? Am I doing it right? So when you come to do something scary, like set up a business, it's like, am I doing it right? You know, you've got no one to turn to and ask. And so, yeah, it's learning to trust yourself and have the guts to go ahead and push through with those decisions. So what moment when you set the business up did you finally think, this is actually working? Like, oh my God, I've done it, I've made it.
I honestly have so many moments, but my first moment was actually our open day. See, when we first opened a salon, we had people queuing right out the door. We had a few hundred in our open day, and you know the size of the salon. We're like, kid, it was we as a team, when everyone left, we were actually like teary because we were like so overwhelmed with how well it went. We also did a ladies' day for Friends of Anchor, Ladies Night for Friends of Anchor, and that sold out within hours, and that was brilliant. I've won a lot of awards. My well, I won emerging entrepreneur with Elevator, and that was a massive thing for me because all the awards that we won, it was salon awards, so best salon and that, and the girls they like, we as a team deserved that, but for me, I felt there's so much that goes on running a business behind the scenes that I felt like that was one for me. So that was a really good one. And then we won a Label M award, which was, I mean, I was pregnant then, and that was Retailer of the Year, and that was in the whole world. And I was like, I was honestly, I shouldn't have flown really. I was a bit too far going to fly. But we won that, and we were on a stage, and I was like 5,000 people there, and it was just insane. There's so much points, but I'm like, it's very memorable.
Yeah, gosh, I can't believe that open day story, like people queued. I can imagine them like, it just goes to show you how you hit the nail on the head with the idea.
Yeah.
Clearly the demand was there.
I think in the Shire, like when I worked in Aberdeen, so many of my clients came from the Shire, and I think it's what I also noticed within like Kintour as a village, so many of both side parents, both of them work. So they want that high end, but their lifestyles are so busy. They've got the children, and the fact that it's local, you're not having it. Yeah, I do feel. Chloe's just shot in one of my staff. What great times that was.
It is though, and one thing I always remember, and I mean, I worked in the city centre, so I worked at like Tullis end, so one end, and then Bridgedawn end, and just to get into the city centre just from the outskirts of the city would always take ages. So to have to come straight from work, and not only that, to try and get an appointment at that time, and then have to drive, being in Inverurie, drive home, it's just, it's hours added on to the appointment time. It's just like, it almost became a bit of a thought to actually go and get your hair done, and it took the shine off it because it was like,
I know. I totally understand that. That was actually why I chose to move here, because even for me traveling back and forth for work, I didn't do it that long, but we knew quite quickly that lifestyle, you've got to make it easier for you.
Yeah, and I mean, you think about the location, in terms of like that, both working parents, both professional, commuter belt, Kintour, Inverurie, Old Meldrum, Kemnay, it's just, it was just like so well needed.
Oh, I love that.
Definitely.
Thanks.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much goes into business. I mean, there's so much beyond, branding, positioning, messaging, marketing, finding suppliers, finding staff, accounting and finance, all these sorts of things that go on behind the scenes that people don't see. What was the first thing in business that you were just like, nope, and you outsourced it?
Makeup artist. That was the first thing. I think I invested so much energy into being on the floor, cutting hair, making sure my staff was good, that they were fine, they were busy, doing all your admin and everything. I did all of that for a long time myself, and still do a lot of it myself, but I felt like with makeup, it's a whole different ball game. And I have a lot of friends that are makeup artists, brilliant makeup artists. And speaking to them, they initially said to me, Rebecca, every wedding, every bride, every person that we do makeup on, we use that money and we're buying more into our kit. Best thing I would do is outsource it. So I did initially. And then I felt like I think it was more the fact that I'd built so much into my brand, and I thought, whoa, no, I need to do this myself. So that's what I ended up doing, and that was really, really popular, and still is very popular. Not obviously just now with everything that's going on, but it was until then. It was until then. But it will be again. It will be again.
Yeah, definitely. Let's have hope.
Yes.
So what businesses do you look up to for inspiration? I'm sure there's so many businesses that look up to you. So where do you look to?
So I really look up to Richard Ward. I'm not sure if you've heard that. So he does the Duchess of Cambridge's hair. He does heaps of celebrities' hair. But I've done many courses with Helen Ward, which is his wife. And Helen is, do you know what? One of the things that inspired me was he's very much the face, the creative. She is also a hairdresser, but she is very much behind the scenes, the staffing, the finances. And what I really like, one of the first meetings I had here, she'd said to me like, what's your thoughts? What's your name at the salon? I went through everything with her. And she'd said about finances, like how much do you think it will cost to do this? And the amount of times that I speak to people that are deciding to open a new business, and they'll say, oh yeah, it's great, we've made so much more than what we did when we worked with somebody, but they never take into the account of how much it costs to start it up. So it's almost like that in your mind is switched off. And you can't do that in business. For every pound you put in, you've got to make sure there is some sort of investment there that helps to build it. And that is how I've managed to build the residence. Otherwise, I wouldn't manage to do it. So yeah, they really, really, really inspire me.
Yeah, I think as well, like you said, people don't necessarily. Another thing they don't account for is their own time. You know, in terms of like if you gave yourself an hourly rate for, you know, all that time that you've spent strategizing and stuff like that, you know.
Definitely.
Yeah, no, crazy. So I've got a little bit of a quick fire round for you now, and then we'll move on to questions. So anybody who's watching live, if you want to ask questions, fire them in the comments and we'll get to them at the end. So any questions for Rebecca, just let them know. But we'll do a little bit of a quick fire for just now. So what is your favorite social media platform? I think you've already answered that one though.
Instagram.
Yeah, definitely. I think for what you do, because it's so visual.
Yeah.
It makes sense, and you kind of all your bases are covered. You mentioned TikTok. Well, they've got reels, so why would you bother with TikTok? You know, it's like they've kind of got everything. Yeah. Do you prefer video or podcasts?
Oh, video.
Yeah. Again, another visual thing for what you do. Would you prefer live or pre-recorded?
Well, I don't mind. I don't know. I don't feel like I get nervous. I might come across it. I'm sorry if I do, but I don't know.
No.
Right. I don't mind. I think live is fine. Sometimes mistakes end up better when you watch them back.
Yeah, it humanizes you, and it's exactly like what you say. People want to see the reality side as well, you know. They want to, you know, not everything high polished, you know.
Definitely.
Perfect. Filter or no filter? This is going to be interesting.
No filter. I love seeing real people, and I get so frustrated when I see people that are putting all this filters and all this, we're supposed to have lines and we're supposed to have little cracks. Yeah, it's real life.
Don't know, switch the filter off, you can probably see the grey hair coming in now.
Well, I'm the same. I've got a full dark strip, so we're living it together.
Keeping it real. Do you prefer daily or ad hoc posting?
So I like daily posting personally. I find that it keeps everybody aware of what's going on. It keeps the engagement with your followers. So I would say daily.
Yeah, good consistency there. DIY, so do it yourself or outsource it?
Oh, do it yourself every day. Unless it's like joiners and things like that. But anything that I feel like I can do, I'm quite OCD, which all my staff will say. So I do it yourself.
Yeah, I'm a bit like that. I'm a bit of a control freak.
Can't help it. Although it's kind of funny, because when I started the cafe, Aaron said to me, one of the guys, he was like, oh, you're like so chilled. And like all your staff, you trust them to do everything. I'm like, yeah, I do. But I've built up that through time, that I know that when I had a baby, I knew that they could run it. That was the whole point, that I could come away and know that it was fine, and it was. So, but yeah, I still like to do it myself as well. I can't help it.
Definitely. TikTok or Reels?
Oh, I quite like TikTok. See, like, if you're just like sitting with a glass of wine and you've got nothing, you're just wanting to switch your mind off. I actually quite enjoy just looking through it and doing it. I've done many, but I like watching it more than doing it.
Yeah, definitely. Mine's is full of cats and Harry Styles. That's mine.
Is it? That's like Haley's. Haley's is literally all cats. Her cat.
She told me when I was last in, she's like, I don't see what people see in Harry Styles. I'm like, oh.
How can you say that? Well,
I actually let out a squeal when the song came on, and she's like, you're nuts.
That's so funny.
Favorite binge shows for like Netflix, Amazon Prime?
Right, so I actually said this to my husband because we've watched a few, but I like True Blood. Didn't laugh, okay?
Oh, I've seen that. Is that vampires? Yeah.
I think it's because it's like a 8 series or something crazy. So like I felt like I really switched myself off and just watched it. And Alexander Skarsgård, oh, it's really, I love him. So he's in it.
Oh. I'll definitely do that. I'm watching Orange is the New Black just now, but it's a 7 seasons or series, and I'm thinking about like 5, so it's gonna finish soon. I need another big one to fill the gap. So yeah, I'll make sure to check that one out. Right, on to the questions now. So first one, and I think it's probably one that everybody wants to know. How do you grow out your hair and go grey? What's any advice for that?
So, so there's a few different things you could do. Some people will still add if they are light blonde, like if they're blonde anyway and they've got the grey coming through. Some people will add just a few extra highlights and tone it. I am the go natural, so for me, I think it's better just to let it come down. We could tone it to a grayer colour to match in what you have, and just to soften it a little bit so it's not as harsh when it's coming through. Cut the hair a little bit shorter. It'll make it feel like a blend is a little bit softer, and by softening the haircut as well, nothing it's lined almost, so no bobs in that. Something that's a little bit more textured helps. Go gracefully. I honestly, the amount of years that I've seen people that are putting in highlights and they've toned it and they've kind of went down that route, they're always in the same boat. And I think that if you're going to go grey, this is the time, we're lockdown, where you're not seeing anyone. We're wearing hats anyway because it's colder. Go for it. I'm technically losing clients by saying that with colour. That's not a good thing, but no, I'm very much, any of my clients that came back from the first lockdown and they all questioned it, I was like, you're gonna do it, this is the time.
Yeah.
Before
I've got the horrible task of like, I'm going grey, but I'm probably 50-50, and the brown is so warm that when it gets, it's hard to kind of shift past that kind of like orange stage, and it's so annoying because I'd love to just go grey.
Grey, just do it. Oh, but you still got a lot of your colour there, your natural pigment there.
Yeah, it's frustrating. Never mind. Second question. So did you find it scary hiring people for the business? So I suppose we tapped into that. You like to do a lot of things yourself and building in that trust.
Absolutely. I remember one of the trips that I went to in London, my mom said to me, you didn't seem phased. And I was like, no, I'm fine. I'm ready to open a salon. And she says, there's nothing bothering you. And I'm like, staffing. It's the only thing that I'm concerned about. But I've been really honest with my staff, and they are very honest with me. They are technically like my inner gut. They just tell me. So if there's something that I'm unsure about, I've thought about before, but they confirm it with me. So it's good because I have that trust both ways. I think my core, I'm very fortunate because my staff has been with me for a long time. There's a few that's came and went, and when I always have said to them, there's nothing worse when you are an employee working in an environment and somebody's unhappy. So you either say, or if you're ready to go, it's time to go. So the door swings both ways. And I say that in honesty because as an employee, I've been there when you're sitting here and somebody moan and that little gnat bites, and then it makes everybody feel a bit on edge. So if something good's happening, you don't like to be saying it, oh, it's great because that person's feeling a bit negative and it's almost time for them to go. So I've said that to all my staff. Ken, if there's anything you need to tell me, you tell me. And if you're unhappy, I can only do as good as I can do, and they can only do, sometimes it is time for people to move on. There's nothing negative with that. And here's where I sit. But I think that's partly the reason why my staff have been so loyal and that I have been lucky in that respect, because I didn't have bad feelings. Like maybe probably the first couple of staff members that left me, it was sensitive because I'd never had that emotion before. So it was like almost like boyfriend, girlfriend splitting up. It was like, oh, can you?
Yeah, you got offended. Yeah.
But now, no, I do not think like that. I wish everybody good luck when they can, if they're with me or when they go, or can. I just like honesty, and that's what my staff know, and that's why they are so honest with me. But staffing can be the hardest, but it can also be the easiest if you're honest with them and vice. Like my staff knew about all my plans and always know about all my plans before anyone knows anything, because they should know, because that's also their goal. We're all in the same goal.
Yeah, and it's that weird thing as well, is like to keep everything secret, and you know, but yeah, to share the load and to get advice, and you know, get a feeling for, you know, because if they're going to be working in that situation, it's always good to sort of spread the load. But Jerry saying she's a year into her journey of going great. It was Jerry that asked the question. She's saying it's so hard.
It is so hard. Jerry, I would advise, if obviously once hairdressers are open, cut your hair a little bit shorter so you're not feeling that two-tone as much, and soften into it. It does make a difference. It's hard if you've got long hair and you cut it shorter, but it almost is like taking that plaster off and just going for it. But it is difficult.
I think it is, and it's difficult. I mean, I've friends that have got blonde hair that are going green. They almost feel like they're so much luckier because it's kind of easier for them to just let it go. But when yours is dark, it's such a drastic contrast. Yeah, it's wild. So third question. So how difficult did you find it? Probably not, given what you said about open day. How difficult was it to build up that client roster to be in a position where you were full?
I said to all my staff, it takes a year to build a clientele. All my girls did a whole year of intensive training to make sure that there was no, like when I employed the girls, they're a good 10 years younger than me, so they were still learning as well, but they all had really good foundation, so their basis of training was fab, but they still was learning. And so I really advanced their skills by putting them in courses. I spent time with them. We stayed later, but it takes a year to build a clientele. I think with hair in particular, once it's 3 visits is the most important, and I always say that to the girls. 3 visits. I mean, your first seconds of meeting somebody is really important, but as a client point of view, if you went to somebody for a long time and then they come to you for the first time, you have to be honest with them. Look, this person's cut your hair for 20 years. We're never going to be that yet, because we've just met. We're just getting to know each other, and I'm getting to know your hair and getting to know how far I can push you. And I think with that's where my staff tend to say that to clients. So then clients like instantly feel a bit more relaxed, that they're not coming out expecting maybe what Sally did to your hair for 20 years. They're knowing that they're coming to you wanting that change, but they know that they've got to accept that it'll take a few visits to really build up that trust.
Yeah, and I think as well, when it comes to styles, especially when colour's involved, it can take a lot of time as well. I know, like when I first visited and I had really long box dye, dark brown, looked like it was black hair, and I wanted to go blonde. And Haley was like, it might take a year or two, you know, like, strip all that colour out first, and we're getting there slowly.
You're a lot lighter than what it was when you first came.
Yeah, it was black. It really was. I look back at photos, I'm like, oh my word.
I know. What I noticed for you is the colouring instantly changed in your face. when you started putting the lightness to it, didn't it?
Yeah, yeah. And I think as well, like sometimes it's like nature almost helps. So the fact that mine is warm, much as I would personally, because you know that's what you see in the magazines and what you see everywhere else. I'd love it to be like ice blonde, you know, like platinum,
Yeah.
like cool. It's obviously not meant for me, you know, like that bit of warmth is meant to be there.
But I always have a joke with my staff with blondes, because I'm like, I always, same as what you're saying, I always wanted to be that icy tone, but I always end up like Cindy Barbie doll, always goes yellow, and it's just the pigmentation in the hair that unfortunately brings this natural warmth to it.
Purple shampoo for life.
For a life.
It's crazy, isn't it? No, but I definitely think that, you know, that honesty from day one of like, this is going to take, you know, it's definitely, yeah, it's welcomed. People just want the truth, right?
Yeah, for
No
sure.
point in staying there and sitting there and saying, oh yeah, I'll make you platinum blonde, you know, like that, you know, it's
I know.
honesty. Right, last question, unless anyone else has got any questions they want to ask in the comments, I'll have a scrolly through after this. How do you handle the juggle with family? Do you find the delegation hard? We can touch on that a little bit already.
So I would say this is the only debate that me and my husband generally have, because it's almost like whose business is more important. So I've got the most staff, okay? I've got the most clients, but my husband is got like, he is super, he works 7 days, he's non-stop, and he can come home at 9-10 o'clock at night. He is well, it's a really busy business in that way, so it's really, that's a juggle, because even in lockdown he's like, but your business is shut, and I'm like, I've still so much to do, it doesn't just stop. As for my son, oh, I just love him. Honestly, I love him. I had a C-section and was back in 3 weeks after having him. So I found that this lockdowns have been amazing, because I feel like I've gotten to be mom. And but I find when we go back, like from coming back to last lockdown, I was in there 6 days a week, a lot of the time doing clients, and yeah, it is a juggle, but we are really lucky. I've got a really good support network, which is brilliant, a really great nursery, so, and my son is good, he sleeps all night, and so there's no complaints there. But we always said when we first started our business, we knew from day one how much energy goes into it. So we made a pact that we as a family will work as hard as we want, as long as we want, before we had my son obviously, but still kind of continues, and none of us complain. So me or my husband will ever complain what time each other comes home if you're still working, but we tend to go away 3 times a year just to get that break, and when we go away, that's our break. But I mean, when we do that, our phone bills are easy, £500. A phone rings all the time equally.
Yeah.
So it's not like it stops. It never stops. But we've got to be thankful, I suppose, with lockdown, having this time with each other.
Yeah, it is. It's rare. We all complain, don't we? But it is rare.
See, I'm not at the stage where my kids are going to clubs and that. You're probably at that stage. So then if they're doing all that, all of a sudden none of that's happening, and you are sitting at 5 o'clock having a meal, having your dinner. How good is that? Never probably happens.
Yeah, it's crazy. And it's funny because two businesses that I run, one of the goals for this business and the reason for this business was I wanted to be able to pick up and drop off the girls from school, because they're both at school now, and not have to rely on the clubs and stuff like that. And it was so funny because literally lockdown just threw that at me. Before I was ready, it was like, there you go, you asked for it, boom. And I was like, oh. It was like crazy. It was like, whoa, left field. And it's been interesting. Sometimes you think like that's what you want, and sometimes it's like, oh, maybe not every day.
Yeah, I would say that's me. I love being a mom, and I'm really fortunate. But I'm definitely a working mom.
Yeah, it is. It's part of the family unit, isn't it? And I think it's great for the kids as well to, I mean, hilariously enough, my mum had her own hairdressing shop, albeit old women. My dad had a car repair garage, so both of them were sole traders. Both of them had their own
No
businesses, and
way.
yeah, and it's funny. My brother's taken over the garage, and here's me setting up my own business. And I think it's great for kids to see growing up different opportunities because at school you're kind of shown is like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And it's like, a doctor, a policeman, it's a teacher. It's kind of like cookie cutter 9 to 5 kind of stuff. So to see that there's this other world, if you like, of having a business, setting a business, running it up, and you call the shots, I just think it's fascinating for the kids.
Yeah, I would agree, to be honest. I think I think it's really good for them to understand that hard work, you have to put hard work in it. It's not a 9 to 5. It's never going to be a 9 to 5. And I think it's good for them to see that, because you're right. I think majority of people is in the position where, especially, I mean, I really feel for everybody that are oil workers and that working from home, and they're homeschooling kids, and you think, how on earth are they doing this? Like, yeah, that's hard. That must be incredibly hard. But it is convenient when, I think everyone thinks when you have your own business, you can do what you want, but actually you find that you work so much more. You actually have, I honestly don't really have much of a social life. If my social life is anything, it's often either with the staff, so with my team, or with my own, for like my parents, not just now obviously with lockdown, but in a day-to-day. That is a reality, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. It is. It's kind of like part of you, and it does. It's a strange one. It's weird. It's great to be able to speak to someone else who's a business owner, because it's almost that thing of like, you feel like other people who maybe work traditional jobs just don't get it because they've not done it and they don't necessarily understand it and stuff like that. So no, it's always interesting. There's a question came in from Label M. So thank you for the award. Whilst juggling family as well as work, you've clearly got the experience and successes in setting up these businesses. Do you see yourself opening up more salons and eateries? PS, great interview. Thanks.
Hello, sorry.
So yeah, any more plans for salons, eateries?
I'm not sure. I honestly, I'd said after I got the residence finished exactly how I want. So with the residence, there's got to be the kids' play area, and we're actually making the cafe in a little bit of a shop as well. So that's like the things that we're really focusing on just now. So once I've got that, oh man, I don't know. I think if I open another salon, I would do it in an area where my staff wanted to, where they run it if I was doing that. And they would head it up almost, because I think I let them see all sides of the business for a reason. That if I was to do it, I think I would try and aim for that side more, like to give them an opportunity. Eatery, oh, you'll have to ask Lindsay that. Oh,
gosh, I missed the signature cake. I'm desperate for that cake.
Oh my god, it's amazing, isn't it? I love the hummingbird cake. So we've got so much planned for the cafe for this year, and that's one of the reasons again why we decided to use this time to expand and plan, and so there's loads happening. So I think that'll take me over this year.
Yeah, definitely. And one last question: any plans for coming out of lockdown? Obviously, we had the announcement the other day. I can't even remember the date. Is it April the 26th?
26, yeah, is what they're saying.
My appointment's the 21st of April, so that's my last appointment.
You're joking.
Damn it!
A nightmare. So yeah, well, actually, that announcement happened. I honestly had about 400 emails and saying like, "What's happening? What's going?"
When can I book in?
Oh, it's so difficult. So what we're doing is we're working from the day we shut back again. So we're almost just as fair as we can. We're really fortunate because so many clients. Well, that just shows you, comes in and books so many appointments in advance. So actually quite a lot of our appointments is like, you've probably had a couple of appointments in this time. So so we're going to do that. I'm actually in on Friday, so I'm away to me and Amy, my front house manager. Oh, I just love, like, she's so good. She helps me with Christian. She does everything. She actually was employed as my PA, but she does everything, and she knows, Ken, she helps me with everything. So we're in on Friday, and we're going to wait to get started. And some of my girls are actually coming in to help get things set up. So we're waiting to paint fences and things. And Ken, I said to them, if one is just bored or whatever, so they're going to come in and just help with little things. So
Yeah.
I don't know, lockdown this time feels different. Do you feel that?
Yeah, I suppose there's not the same unknown fear, panic that
No,
there was the first time, because it never obviously happened before in our generation. So
no. I
this
think,
time I'm a bit like, meh.
yeah, I think everyone feels like that actually. But I think because I've already did the 2 meters apart, the division with the businesses and whatever. So I don't feel like coming back from this lockdown is concerning. Last lockdown we panicked because we had Facebook messages, with Instagram messages, with appointments, with emails from a few email addresses. So we really tried to just like focus, and we've mastered it. So now this time we know what we're doing, and we're just got to be kind of, it's difficult. It's so difficult.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Do you think you're going to have to do the same thing again of putting some of the seats into the residence initially? And
So the residents actually, once the seats are out of there, I'll be looking for 6 beauty girls. But until then, and we've got a really, really good brand that we've just signed up for as well. So everybody will love, just to say, like Kerastase and Label M, L'Oreal, they're all fantastic brands. So my beauty brand that I wanted it to be just top notch. So I'm so chuffed. So that's all signed, sealed, ready to go. So we'll be opening with that as well. So that's exciting.
yeah,
It's weird. This time that I've had off, I have planned and I've done quite a lot, but it doesn't feel like I've been doing as much, but I have when I'm speaking to you. So yeah, so we've got that. But yeah, I think we're just ready to get back in it. Everyone, all my
yeah.
staff, they're all saying the same. They're just wanting to be seeing everyone again.
Yeah, I think now that there's a date as well, and it'll probably come round quick enough. Like you say, if they want to come in and start prepping, that's kind of breaks the cycle of,
Yeah,
Groundhog Day a bit, doesn't it?
definitely.
Oh, exciting time. Well, I don't think we've got any more questions other than someone said they love your mum and dad.
Yeah, my mom and dad are special. Do you know, I think that's partly what's, well, massively. My mom and dad had me and my sister, and had my brother 10 years later. So they very much brought us up to be strong, confident females. But I think where I'm very fortunate is when people go into business, they really worry about what everyone thinks. And because I've got such a loving hub at home with my I don't worry about that. Like for me, I'm doing it to benefit me or the area, but I'm not worried about because I've got that love at home. So yeah, my parents are ace. Everybody says that.
Yeah. If anybody's listening and they're like, because that is such a crippling thing, if you worry about what people think and that's stopping you in your business, there's a great book by Sarah Knight called, I think it's something to do with learning not how to give a fuck. And it is the best book. Like I was one of those people that like, oh, and it was like, I read it and it was like instantly, I just didn't care anymore. And I just cracked on. So if anyone wants to read that, that'd be a massive help.
Good book. I'll hate to read it.
Yes, it's good. She's got a series of books, and I think every single one of them's got a swear word in the title. So.
That helps to read then.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Well, no more questions, but thank you so much for joining us today, Rebecca. It was great to dive deeper into setting up in your business, and hopefully be seeing you again soon.
Thank you so much for having me on, and thank you everybody that's joined. I really